Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Marvel. Becomes stronger by breathing. Obtaining the ability of Thanos by killing him. Chapter 21. Yuriko raised her head and met Soren's calm gaze. Her heart trembled. This kind of calmness means that she doesn't care about her life at all. If it were anyone else, give her this choice. She must have thought it was a fart and let it go. But Sauron just proved it. He had killed her, a mutant with adamantium transformation and super self-healing ability. Soren's current heat vision power is not yet able to destroy adamantium. But, after all of Yuriko's cells have been evaporated, how can she still self-heal? Even Deadpool, who has the regenerative healing factor, still has to burp. Yuriko didn't even think about it for a second. I choose to surrender. Sauron nodded with satisfaction. Raven, teach her the rules. There is one more female secretary, one who can still withstand his willful tossing. With Sauron joining in, this operation went extremely smoothly. Chin and Aurora also quickly discovered the professor. Jean successfully awakened the professor from the illusion of Jason, the master of illusion. But the mental prison in her heart was also torn open by Jason. Dark Phoenix, completely trapped. Aurora pushes a dispirited Charles. In Jason's vision, he spent a lot of energy. They quickly get out of here. Soon, they met Logan, who was carrying the unconscious Scott. The casting of the battle suit took a while. When Sauron came out, Charles and the others were already dozens of meters ahead. 300 meters further on is the X-Fighter. There are still 2 minutes until the dam self-destructs. There is a layer of cold lake water on the ice here. It was General Ross who released those lakes. Magneto, swept hundreds of meters by the lake, was unconscious, but holding tightly with both hands the trunk of a tree. This prevented him from rushing further. Neither Chin nor Aurora saw him. But Charles, who was mentally depressed, sensed it. Jin, go save Eric. Charles raised his hand and pointed in a direction. Chin nodded and hurried over. Rescue Magneto, covered in bruises and unconscious. As soon as Aurora got on the fighter plane, he quickly activated it. However, Magneto only repaired the gap caused by the previous missile damage. He doesn't understand mechanics, he just makes repairs to prevent leaks. No, now it's an emergency, and the X-Fighters are lying down. Shit, the dam is about to self-destruct. Akali Lake Dam will self-destruct. Millions of tons of lake water are surging, enough to destroy all obstacles. Aurora glanced at Magneto anxiously. Seeing that he was still unconscious, there was a trace of despair in his eyes. In her opinion, the only person who could make the fighter plane take off immediately was too busy. Choo-choo, caw. There was a sound from the plane's engine. After several bursts of flames burst out, a puff of black smoke spewed out. At this time, the fighter plane's engine completely stopped functioning. Sauron, followed by Mystique and Death Woman. What's wrong? The original plot, the X-Fighters, was just a critical moment, and it didn't work. Sauron didn't expect that this time, it would be the same. However, with him here, Chin doesn't have to sacrifice herself at all. The plane won't start. Aurora suddenly thought that Sauron had caught the falling fighter plane yesterday. Hope burned in her eyes again. Boom! Continuous explosions rang out. In front of me, the huge Akali Lake Dam was blasted with huge amounts of holes and cracks. The raging lake water broke through the broken dam. Flood waters tens of meters high rushed towards the fighter plane. Sauron raised his hands, lifted his feet off the ground, and placed his hands on the inner wall of the fighter plane. A biological force field envelops the fighter jet. Whoosh! The fighter plane soared into the sky. In an instant, we reached an altitude of several hundred meters. Except for Aurora and Charles who were sitting, everyone else was pressed to the ground by huge amounts of inertia. Magneto's head hit the ground, which actually made him wake up. I'm not dead. Magneto looked at the people who fell on the ground, as well as Sauron, who had his feet off the ground and was holding the fighter plane. You can fly. Magneto was in a daze. He has seen many mutants who can fly. He can also fly, but he relies on magnetic field control, and the metal on his body carries him flying. Others either have various wings, or rely on their own ability to control some kind of substance or force field to let themselves fly. Aurora is the wind of control. Jean relies on psychokinesis. But the most shocked person was Charles. His eyes were full of disbelief and incredibleness. Sauron grew up under his nose. Because Sauron is mature and sensible beyond his years, he never causes trouble in the academy and never gives trouble to the teachers. Charles has always felt at ease with him and has almost never used telepathy to sense him. But now, the student I feel most at ease with is the one I like the most. Suddenly, the sparrow turns into a phoenix. Not only can he fly, but he is also powerful enough to be able to carry an X-fighter weighing dozens of tons. Charles's eyes couldn't help but fall on Soren's battle suit. Could it be that Sauron is a Kryptonian? Superman was created during World War II. Charles was just a child at that time. He also reads comics and likes various superheroes in comics. His favorite is Superman. After Captain America was born, he went to see Captain America's performances with his parents. Although the color of the battlesuit is wrong, it is blue in the comics and has red underwear. But there is no doubt that this battlesuit is the Superman battlesuit. Charles stared at Sauron again. Heat vision, right. Flight, right. Super strength, right. When he tried, using telepathy, to sense Sauron, he felt that an invisible position enveloped the entire fighter plane and blocked Soren's spiritual power from outside. Biological force field, right. Sauron frowned slightly. He felt that there was a force that just tried to break through the biological force field and enter his brain. He looked at Charles. Charles smiled back. Aurora finally successfully activated the X-fighter, and Sauron took back his ability. The fighter plane flew towards the direction of the academy. Sauron and Charles, face to face. Sauron liked the architecture of Xavier's school very much, as well as the flowers and plants. Thousands of acres of land surrounding the college are privately owned by Charles. It's quiet here and the environment is pretty good. Although he has great strength, the world cannot function without money. Sauron himself is also a person who wants to enjoy life. Charles is rich, very rich. The Xavier family controls hundreds of medium and large companies around the world. Even Osborne Corporation and Stark Industries, two super military industrial companies, the Xavier family also owns certain shares. However, Charles's heart is not on this. He always leaves it to a professional team to take care of it. Otherwise, how could Xavier's school have such a large and quiet campus in New York, where land is at a premium? Even the military is coveted, and supersonic stealth aircraft can be produced. Sauron took a fancy to those powerful mutants in the academy. I also took a fancy to Charles's terrifying financial resources. Now, it's a showdown and a negotiation. Professor, my ability is actually to absorb the energy of the sun and use it to strengthen my body. Abilities such as heat vision and flight are all derived from the fact that the body is strong enough. It's the same as Superman in the comics, but the source of our power is different. He is because of the Krypton gene, and I am because of the X gene. How could Sauron tell others about the sun-breathing method? Charles was satisfied with Soren's frank confession. It's just hiding his ability, he understands it too well. Mutants are aliens from the society of ordinary people. Most people even regard mutant as a monster. There are too many mutants who are used to hiding their abilities. Especially, those mutants with special abilities or powerful abilities. Many of them have become guinea pigs on the dissecting table. Just like Superman's ability in the comics. Let Charles choose, and he will hide himself deeply. Kid, I understand. Your ability is too powerful. Once someone knows about it, you will be constantly hunted. But don't worry, the academy is your home. We will help you and protect this secret. Sauron looked moved. Professor, thank you. Cooperation achieved. Sauron continues to stay at the academy and enjoy Charles's vast financial resources. But Sauron must also protect the academy. Sauron and Charles both smiled happily. However, he didn't notice that Chin's condition was very wrong. In Jason's vision, Jean once again experienced the shadow of her childhood. Her ability awakening caused her parents' car accident. Her fear of her own ability led to the birth of Dark Phoenix. Charles imprisoned Dark Phoenix in the mental prison he set. Imprisoning a ferocious beast in a cage will only make the ferocious beast even more ferocious. Charles modified this memory, but the real memory is rooted in the deepest part of the heart. Jason dug out this memory. The mental cage was torn open by huge amounts of holes. Dark Phoenix can't be shut down at all. Dark Phoenix is out of trouble. Then he began to compete with Chin for control. Her body was always acting subconsciously. Her eyes were clear for a while and dark for a while. Charles was so consumed that all his energy was attracted to Sauron again. Jean was ignored. Chin's main personality is no match for Dark Phoenix. Gradually, her eyes became deep and dark. Logan has been secretly paying attention to Chin. He noticed something was wrong with Chin's eyes. Chin, what's wrong with you? Logan asked nervously. Charles woke up suddenly. He turned to look at Chin. Telepathy enveloped Chin. For a moment, Charles felt endless anger and madness. Originally, Chin could still persist. When the psychic power of Charles, the culprit who imprisoned Dark Phoenix, appeared. Dark Phoenix is too familiar with this power. 20 years of accumulated anger exploded in an instant. Chin's main personality was directly imprisoned by Dark Phoenix. She took control of her body. Chin suddenly turned her head and looked at Charles. His eyes were filled with angry fire. Chin is still Chin, and her eyes are still the same. But everyone who looked at her realized that Chin was no longer Chin. Those eyes were ruthless, angry, and indifferent. Sauron frowned. Dark Phoenix was finally out of trouble. He took action to avoid the original plot of Chin sacrificing herself to save everyone. How did Dark Phoenix get out of trouble? The will of the universe. Although Sauron has super hearing, super vision. But outsiders have no idea what happened to Chin after she fell into Jason's illusion. Sauron has not yet evolved to the level of omniscience and omnipotence. Charles's eyes were filled with helplessness. He is currently mentally exhausted and has not yet recovered. He tried to use the power of his mind to appease Dark Phoenix and wake up Chin. However, there is a huge spiritual power around Chin, which shields his spiritual power from outside. What happened to you? Logan, who had been working hard today, saw that strange look in his eyes. There was great uneasiness in my heart. He just reached out and wanted to touch Chin's shoulder. Dark Phoenix suddenly looked at him. Her eyes were full of vigilance. Take Logan's behavior as some kind of hostile act. Bump. The ability possessed by Dark Phoenix is more powerful than Chin. Chin can only control some small objects such as books. But Dark Phoenix can control houses and vehicles. Even, use Phoenix Force to break down everything from the most basic particle level. Logan, knocked directly into the wall by Jean's psychokinesis. Mystique and Death Girl immediately became alert. Sauron shook his head at them, and they put their guard down. In the original plot, Logan was able to withstand the decomposition of the Phoenix Force and get closer to Jean step by step. It is Jean's main personality that suppresses Dark Phoenix's attack on Logan. Chin's Phoenix Force can only be used in emergency situations. Dark Phoenix has only mastered a part of the Phoenix Force. Otherwise, Phoenix Force, the original power of the level universe, should not be too easy to kill a Wolverine. Adamantium, I can't stand it. Death Woman was no match against Dark Phoenix. Magneto looked at Chin silently, a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Back then, it was he and Charles who went to pick up the piano. He knew everything about Chin's situation. Dark Phoenix will be his most powerful companion. Chin, Charles spoke. I know, you're still here. Dark Phoenix turned his head and looked at Charles. Anger exploded in her eyes. As soon as Charles opened his mouth, she felt that Chin, who had been sealed by her, began to break free again. The entire X-fighter began to vibrate. Phoenix Force fills the air. The body of the fighter jet began to be broken down into the most basic particles bit by bit. Aurora tried her best to control the plane. She turned around and shouted. I can't control it anymore. What happened to Jean? But no one answered him. Chin, Scott's voice suddenly sounded. He finally woke up, and when he opened his eyes, he saw something was wrong with Chin. Dark Phoenix looked at Scott and frowned. She felt that Chin was struggling hard. But this time, the power of struggle is very powerful. Dark Phoenix understands that Scott gave Jean superpower. There was a harsh sound, and a big hole was torn open on the top of the X-fighter. Dark Phoenix flew out from the crack. Sauron thought for a moment and chased after him. Magneto quickly controlled the metal and repaired the big hole. Aurora, barely able to control herself. Scott looked stupidly at the empty cabin. 2 people were missing, but he felt as if the whole world was missing. With Soren's speed, catching up with Dark Phoenix shouldn't be too easy. Unexpectedly, Dark Phoenix found Sauron chasing after him. He didn't take action or escape. Instead, it descended slowly. This is a dense jungle. Dark Phoenix cleared a clearing and looked at Sauron, who landed. Her eyes were filled with flames of desire. Dark Phoenix, full of desire and violence. But definitely not full of desire for anyone. She is full of desire for powerful people. And Cha-Cha, Sauron, in Dark Phoenix's perception, is an extremely powerful man. Dark Phoenix's eyes are completely smooth. Dark Phoenix took the initiative to meet Sauron. The desire in his eyes could not be concealed at all. When Sauron wanted to speak, he was blocked. Sauron took off his battle suit, and Dark Phoenix's hands clawed at Sorin's back. Phoenix Force gathered on Dark Phoenix's fingers. There was a faint red mark on Sorin's back. In the blink of an eye, it disappeared. But it did make Sauron feel a trace of pain. Sorin's eyes were extremely bright. Just the defective Phoenix Force can break through his defense. This has something to do with Sauron, who is only at the peak of Azu and has a half-step body of steel. But it also proves how powerful this power is. Sauron wants this power. And he is getting it now. Mystique's experience proves that as long as Dark Phoenix is defeated, it can be dropped. Crazy. Extremely crazy. The crazy Phoenix Force left traces of blood on Sorin's body. But in the blink of an eye, it was repaired by super self-healing. And the aloof Dark Phoenix gradually surrendered to the three legs of the Golden Crow. A bright ball of light fell from Dark Phoenix's body and automatically entered Sorin's body. Lost treasure. Sauron became even more excited, tyrannizing his body and bringing endless energy and physical strength. It's like a perpetual motion machine that never stops. Mutant's body is indeed much stronger than that of ordinary people. But only a little stronger. Dark Phoenix whined for mercy. She was completely conquered by Sauron. The ground is the bed and the clouds are the quilt. While absorbing the energy of the sun, Sauron looked at the light group dropped by Dark Phoenix. Unless it is a kill, only one ability or ability will be dropped. But if you defeat it repeatedly, it will drop repeatedly. The more times you defeat it, the more abilities and capabilities it has. Phoenix Force. In Awakening, Phoenix Force comes from the original universe and was born at the beginning of all things. It is an endless, eternal and impermanent existence of chaos. It is the embodiment of life and spiritual power, symbolizing life and emotions. 1. Phoenix Force has strong spiritual power and can perform all psychic powers. 2. The manipulation of matter has reached the subatomic level or even stronger. Currently, it can only achieve atomic-level material decomposition and molecular-level material reorganization. 3. Other abilities require Phoenix Force with a higher degree of awakening to unlock. Sauron couldn't help but look beside him. The tired and sleeping Dark Phoenix. Phoenix Force is indeed the power of the original universe. The Phoenix Force that just awakened is so powerful. How powerful would the Phoenix Force be if it were completely awakening? Sauron looked at Dark Phoenix with eyes full of greed. Dark Phoenix can't die. Sauron has to keep her alive, constantly awakening Phoenix Force. Then, he dropped an even more powerful Phoenix Force from Dark Phoenix. Sorin's hand was gently stroking Dark Phoenix's back. System, integrate Phoenix Force. Sauron only felt that a powerful force suddenly appeared in his body. This power traveled through his body and finally gathered in his brain. Sorin's super brain is poorly utilized, although it gave him extremely powerful learning ability and extraordinary wisdom. But to be honest, with an extremely powerful body, it is obvious that it can defeat everything. Who would bother to think about it? However, the powerful spiritual power of the Phoenix Force perfectly matches Sorin's super brain. When the human brain is developed to 100%, the physical body will disappear and the spirit will be everywhere. Sorin's super brain is developed to a higher degree than ordinary people. His brain cells are extremely powerful, and the nerve signals he releases are exponentially stronger than those of ordinary people. Phoenix Forces integrate, which originally had powerful spiritual power, combined with Sorin's brain to produce the effect of 1 + 1 being greater than 3. Sauron, close your eyes. He stopped his super hearing, supervision, etc., and all his original perceptions. His eyes were dark, but he saw everything clearly. His spiritual power spreads in all directions. Every plant, every tree, and all kinds of insects, eggs, and fungi are hidden in the moist soil. water vapor in the sky, the flow of wind, and various electromagnetic wave signals. Soren's mental power rushed into the edge of space and gently disconnected a wire on a satellite. Japan, Self-Defense Force Satellite Intelligence Center. Your Majesty Colonel, the Matsumoto 1 military satellite we just launched just malfunctioned. The footage captured by the reconnaissance camera cannot be transmitted back to the ground. Jiro Tomoto, who was wearing a military uniform, was furious when he heard this. Baga, who is responsible for the quality inspection of our military? We spent hundreds of billions to develop and launch military satellites into the sky, but now they are blind. These people should all commit seppuku. Sauron didn't know that it was a small action he took to verify his ability. In Japan, it caused a major investigation and purge within the military. Sauron senses Dark Phoenix's heart. The Phoenix force of the same origin cannot be resisted at all. Satisfy, like, excited, greedy, eager. An ancient tree that was hundreds of years old was pulled out by Sauron with his spiritual power. Material decomposition. A big tree, in the blink of an eye, was broken down into various atoms that make up the big tree. Molecular composition. Hydrogen atoms and oxygen atoms make up water. Countless carbon atoms form a graphite ball. The atomic structure of the graphite spheres changes arrangement. A huge amount of diamond appears and it has perfect facets. The interior is pristine. In the eyes, the most brilliant light is reflected. When diamonds like this appear, I'm afraid all diamonds in the world will become worthless. There was a hint of disdain in Soren's eyes. The astonishingly valuable diamond has once again had its atomic structure changed. It became carbon fiber, and carbon fiber was woven into clothes. A black, tight-fitting battle suit, stacked aside. Dark Phoenix's clothes were all in pieces. In Xavier's school, the bustle of the past was restored due to the return of everyone. The students who stayed in the underground shelter for a whole night were exhausted. As soon as he came out, he was all kinds of running around and being naughty. Charles, in his office, watched all this. There was deep sadness in his eyes. Dark Phoenix, who was imprisoned by him, escaped and won the battle with Jean for his personality. Based on his understanding of Qin, Dark Phoenix cannot kill his own personality. She can only be imprisoned. But what he is worried about is that Dark Phoenix has been imprisoned by him since he was born. He has been staying in a mental prison, ignorant of the outside world. You will only obey your inner instinctive desires. A voracious thirst for violence and lust. Sauron, I hope you can bring her back. Charles frowned. He sensed that two extremely powerful minds were approaching quickly. Charles summoned Scott, Logan, and Aurora. When they came to the yard, Sauron also arrived with the Dark Phoenix. Charles looked at Sauron with deep shock in his eyes. Not long ago, Sauron only relied on his own biological force field to block the spiritual power of the outside world. But now, Charles sensed an extremely powerful spiritual power from Sauron. That power is not weaker than him. What made him unbelievable the most was that the power actually had the same source as Dark Phoenix's power. Sauron, what happened? How come you have Jean's power? At the moment, Dark Phoenix looked at others with incomparable indifference. The look he looked at Charles was full of anger and murderous intent. However, she stayed calmly beside Sauron and hugged his arm tightly. Dark Phoenix was completely conquered by Sauron. Attached and well-behaved, with undisguised greed and desire in his eyes. It hurt Scott and Logan deeply. Qin. When Scott saw Qin coming back, he thought that Sauron helped Qin defeat Dark Phoenix. But the strange look in his eyes made his heart ache. I'm Scott. Scott, trying to awaken the sealed Qin. Dark Phoenix looked at Scott with angry eyes. The huge psychic power directly invaded Scott's brain. Ah! Scott held his head and rolled in pain. Sauron patted Dark Phoenix's hand, and Dark Phoenix took back his spiritual power. His face was on Soren's shoulder, rubbing and rubbing. Logan's fists were clenched tightly. Professor, I have sacrificed myself and reached an agreement with Dark Phoenix. She will not destroy Qin's personality, but she will not give up the dominance of her body either. I think we should let Dark Phoenix stay here first and guide him slowly. Strive to make Dark Phoenix and Qin accept their other selves. Sauron spoke crisply. Charles, sighing, said, maybe I'm really wrong. Just do what you say about this matter. With Dark Phoenix possessing the Phoenix Force, even Charles himself is not sure of victory. In Charles's heart, there was another desire. If Jean can integrate with Dark Phoenix, awakening the full Phoenix Force, then he can rest assured and leave the academy to Chin. I'll take her to her room, Sauron said. As a teacher, Chin is quite strict. Many students are afraid of her. However, when they saw stern Chin, at the moment she was like a kitten, clinging to Sauron. Everyone's eyes widened. Pyro John, I am the boss. You are worthy of being my boss. You are so awesome. John, full of adoration. Iceman Bobby, no, he's already naughty and twinkling, why would he want to steal Scott's woman? Bobby's anger plus 999. Colossus, the current Chin is not teacher Chin. There is an evil second personality in her body. The current teacher Chin is controlled by the second personality. It was Sauron who sacrificed himself so that Chin's evil personality would not go around doing bad things. Colossus knows a lot because he is an X-Men Reserve team member. Bobby, Sauron is great, he is our role model. You can't misunderstand him. What's wrong is the evil personality of teacher Chin, not Sauron. Bobby's anger plus 999999. Sauron brings Dark Phoenix to her room. Dark Phoenix took a look, waved his hand, and the photo of Chin and Scott was decomposed from the atomic level. The door slammed shut. She pulled Solon and entered the bathroom. Dark Phoenix's greed and desire are limitless. Except for Sauron, there is really no one who can satisfy Dark Phoenix. If Dark Phoenix's desires are not satisfied, she will seek satisfaction through violence. Sauron said that he was sacrificing himself, and he was indeed right. A Phoenix Force with a higher degree of awakening falls, and Sauron integrates. My Phoenix Force is more powerful, but other abilities are not unlocked. It seems that there is a long way to go to obtain a complete Phoenix Force. Sauron is full of motivation. Dark Phoenix possesses Sauron. This makes Twinkle, Rugrat, and Shadowcat unhappy. Whenever they get close, Dark Phoenix is like a lioness guarding her prey. Issue a warning to them. I can't beat him again and again. You can't even grab it. Sauron began to live a happy and enjoyable life. He had a girlfriend in his previous life, but she was just a middle-aged girl. Far inferior to the red-haired beauty Dark Phoenix. I've been holding it back for 18 years, let's enjoy it enough first, then talk about it. The college also regained its rare calm. Charles made a stern protest to the president. Colonel William took the blame. Being thrown into jail. In today's academy, no one wants to offend easily. Afraid of offending either Charles or Sauron. One with the most powerful psychic power. One with invincible defense and attack. But beneath the calm, there is an undercurrent. General Ross returned to his military base. Soren's power made him realize that relying on the army's aircraft and cannons was no longer enough to deal with those superpowers with top-level super abilities. The restoration project of Super Serum has become a card used by General Ross to deal with mutants or other superpowers. A single super soldier may not be able to defeat him. But 100, 1,000 EH. Huge resources are invested in the project. Bruce Banner, who is in charge of project research, is happy. At the moment, he was still the talented and flamboyant young man. He worked with General Ross's daughter, Betty Ross, and was a couple. Because of HYDRA's assassination, Professor Erskine, who invented Super Serum, died, but his research data was not left behind. Whether it is America's military or S.H.I.E.L.D., their research on the recovery of Super Serum relies on the blood samples left by Captain America. The project led by General Ross believes that the key to Super Serum is gamma rays. The life rays used by Captain America to strengthen at that time were gamma rays. But every experiment failed. Before an experiment, experimental assistant Harper was conducting routine tests. Soon, he discovered the problem. There's a short circuit in the wires here. You'd better come in and take a look, Harper said as he inspected the gamma ray instrument. He didn't know that the gamma ray instrument had been tampered with by Banner's father. When Banner walked into the laboratory, the circuit board suddenly short-circuited and sparks appeared. The gamma ray instrument was also activated. The kind-hearted Dr. Banner used his body to block high-intensity gamma rays that could kill any living thing. Old Banner's hidden ability in his son's genes was activated. Bruce knew everything the old Banner had done, and in anger, he transformed into the Hulk. The entire laboratory was almost destroyed at the hands of Hulk, who lost his mind. As the actual person in charge of the entire project, Ross did not act as he did in the original plot. He hunted his prospective son-in-law as a monster. Want to crack the secret of his transformation and create an army of Hulk. Bruce, I need to talk to you. General Ross invited Banner to come to his parents' house. Uncle Ross, Betty and I truly love each other. Banner also thought that General Ross was opposed to his love affair with Betty. General Ross took out Banner's laboratory pass. This is what you left in the laboratory last night. I know, that green giant is you. General Ross's eyes were full of excitement. Even Captain America can't break a big hole in the thickened reinforced concrete wall. Captain America is just a person with extreme abilities, but last night's green monster already has inhuman abilities. Bruce subconsciously denied it. General Ross, I'm just an ordinary person. I didn't go to the lab at all last night. I may have missed this pass before. General Ross didn't believe a word of it. Bruce, I don't want to capture you for study. On behalf of the military, I formally invite you to join. I will set up a special response team for you, to deal with those who have super abilities but are enemies of the country. General Ross said it very sincerely. Bruce was stunned. This was something he never expected. Bruce, once you join, you will not be attacked by the military if you transform into the green giant form. The military will protect you, prevent you from being hunted down by other forces. Even, you will become a superhero. Just like Steve Rogers. Bruce's heart beat hard. Being a superhero like Captain America, a man I can't refuse. What's more, his reason told him. Cooperating with the military is 10,000 times better than hiding and wandering around. In particular, Bruce turned his attention to his girlfriend, Betty Ross. If he refused to reject the military, he might be on the road to exile. Then, Betty is afraid that she will become someone else's girlfriend. Bruce finally agreed to General Ross's invitation. Agree to join the military and become its super weapon. General Ross smiled with satisfaction. He became the first general in the military to master superpowers. This gives him a higher status in the Wujiao building. Have more say. General Ross, very excited. Report to Wujiao building, summon many scientists, and mobilize some mutants in the army. Just like Wolverine, there are actually some mutants among America's military. However, these mutants are mostly on the physical side. Either they are strong, or they have a certain self-healing ability, or they have detection abilities such as invisibility or telescope. There is none on the spiritual side or the energy side. Therefore, these mutants may become elites, but they will not attract special attention. General Ross, prepare to gather these people to form a special team. Become a Banner team member. It is an assistant, but also a kind of surveillance. The military's actions were very rapid. In order to test and control, the Hulk transformed after anger. General Ross, dare not be in America. Once Hulk loses control, he cannot bear the responsibility. And the best place to test it is the country of Iraq, which America has just declared war on. For America, it is for people in many places around the world. They all believed what President America said. Iraq has weapons of mass destruction and provides assistance to terrorist organizations. Bruce Banner, at the moment, was very young, not yet 30 years old. Naturally, I believed this statement. He did not hesitate to let him go to the battlefield. Just agree. Just a few days later, with the support of the military. News about the Hulk destroying a military base in Iraq and destroying a batch of weapons of mass destruction. In America's country, it's on fire. Sauron is enjoying and obsessed with his Dark Phoenix every day these days. The plot of X-Men 3 has not yet begun. He was paying attention to the news about the Hulk. But for a long time, there was no news about the battle between the Green Giant and the military. Sauron's super hearing has not yet enveloped the entire America. I don't know, General Ross, because I saw his power. Instead, Hulk, who was supposed to be hunted by him, was recruited instead. Naturally, he couldn't hear anything about the other side of Blue Star. Sauron is basking in the sun and absorbing fixed star energy. Dark Phoenix was like a lazy kitten, lying on his chest. Pyro John, Rockfall, and several other senior mutants who recognized Sauron as their boss came over. What's the matter with you? Normally no one would bother him at this time. There was excitement on John's face. "Boss, have you watched the news?" Sauron shook his head and said. "What's wrong?" John said excitedly. "Boss, on the battlefield of Iraq, the military sent superhero Hulk 1. The Hulk easily destroyed a military base of the Iraqi military and destroyed the weapons of mass destruction hidden there. Now, the whole country knows the superhero Hulk. Boss, if we go to Iraq, will we also become superheroes?" X-Men is a superhero team, but it is not well accepted by the public. X-Men are generally mutants who stop evildoers. For ordinary people, it's all dog eat dog, and then they, ordinary people, are out of luck. Sauron frowned when he heard this. The Hulk actually went to the battlefield in Iraq and became the military superhero. This simply destroyed the Hulk's timeline. Does the Time Variation Administration have no control over it? Ancient One doesn't care. Sauron didn't like this feeling that the plot had completely changed. In order to prevent Dark Phoenix from causing trouble and changing the plot, he sacrificed himself. Being exploited by Dark Phoenix every day. America's military is going to cause trouble if it's a fool's errand. What kind of superhero do you think you are when you invade someone else's country? Sauron looked at John and said, "If you have nothing to do, you should exercise your ability. As a fireman, you can't make your own fire. In less than 2 years, you will be completely surpassed by Bobby." John and Bobby keep fighting. Hearing Sauron say this, his fighting spirit was aroused. "I understand, boss, I will work hard to improve my ability." Sauron still values his first little brother. Whenever you can transform into the fire element, you will understand how weak you are now. Before you exercise, go find your chemistry teacher and learn what fire is. John left respectfully. Sauron stroked Dark Phoenix's red hair, thought about it, and decided that he could not allow the military to mess around. It's just that the Hulk's timeline has been changed, so the problem isn't that big. But I am afraid of a chain reaction that will completely disrupt the timeline of the entire universe. Because of his familiarity with the plot, Sauron is able to drop abilities from superheroes and supervillains step by step. Integrate into your own body and complete a higher level of evolution. Soren's body disappeared instantly. With teleportation blessed by teleportation, you can teleport to wherever you want. Sauron suddenly disappeared, and Dark Phoenix woke up from his sleep. She pouted, her face full of emotions. However, she did not make any noise, but closed her eyes. Continue to use telepathy to perceive the memory of the Master Jai Chin. Fill in the gaps in your past. In the country of Iraq, Sauron appeared in a desert. His super hearing covers almost the entire country of Iraq. The X gene is spread across all races on Blue Star. There are also mutants in Iraq, but they are much rarer. Almost 90% of all mutants are level 1 and level 2 mutants. The super abilities of these mutants are very weak. In fact, a considerable number of these mutants do not have super abilities at all, but only have certain parts or organs of their bodies that have mutated. This is why many mutants, in the eyes of ordinary people, are monsters. Sauron is locked, and all mutants in Iraq have awakened super abilities. There are tens of thousands, but most of them are first and second level mutants. Sauron locked in, a mutant. Dust. Soraya caught her. She is a girl from Afghanistan. Because of America's invasion of Afghanistan, the national order no longer exists. She was targeted by traffickers because of her beautiful appearance. In the process of resisting the kidnapping, she instinctively unleashed her super ability. It turned into a sandstorm and killed all the traffickers. Her ability is to transform herself into a destructive sandstorm while maintaining control of her sand form. In the chaotic country of Awe, she not only faced the pursuit of gangsters but was also targeted by some mercenaries. Capture her and sell her to some labs researching mutants. Shachin fled a country and entered Iraq. From here, he wanted to find a way to sneak to America or other safe countries. Unexpectedly, America declared war on Iraq. She was trapped in Iraq again. A dilapidated village in Iraq. Here, it had just been bombed by the American military. There is no human habitation anymore. Shachin relies on his ability to escape the bombing and hides here. She searched for food in the deserted room. "Do you want to get out of here?" The sound that suddenly came to mind made Shachin break into a sweat. She turned around suddenly and saw a handsome Oriental man. Who are you? She stared at Sauron vigilantly, ready to activate her ability at any time. Soren's face was filled with a sunny smile. We are all the same people. Sauron made a casual move, and the food Shachan had just found floated. The vigilance in Shachan's eyes diminished a bit. What do you want from me? Sauron originally planned to see if there were any powerful mutants in Iraq. Let Iraq's mutant cause some trouble for America's military. However, sand and dust were found. For one's own team and subordinates, the more the better. There are still too few people in Xavier's school. Charles recruits students who are either highly capable. For example, Iceman Bobby, a level 5 mutant. Either the ability is very dangerous, such as Burning Man John or Cyclops Scott. Either that, because of ability awakening, being treated like a monster, or being ostracized from the family. In America alone, there are hundreds of thousands of mutants. There are tens of thousands of underage mutants. The Academy can't fit in it. Although Shachan wears a veil, under Soren's perspective, no secrets can be hidden. Shachan is a beautiful girl with a great figure. My name is Soren Lee and I am a graduating student from Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters. Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters is a school opened by Professor X specifically for mutants. When I graduate, I'm going to start my own team of superheroes. I'm here to invite you to join. Follow me, and you won't have to hide around anymore, and you won't have to worry about your own safety. Not only can you live a stable life, but you can also become a superhero that everyone loves. Sauron generously extended the invitation. Shachan's eyes lit up. What Sauron said was what she had dreamed of. Then what's the name of your superhero team? Shachan asked. Sauron touched his smooth chin. What do you think of the Super 7? I am the leader of the Super 7, Superman Sauron. Shachan nodded and said, if you didn't lie to me, I would be willing to join your team. Sauron nodded with satisfaction. If John couldn't transform into the fire element, he could only be a subordinate. Sandust's ability lies in large-scale group attacks. If she covers the entire New York City with a sandstorm. Let me ask, who can defeat her? But before joining, there is a small test. Do you dare to face the Hulk and tell him the truth about America's invasion? Sauron asked seriously. Aren't you from America? Why should I tell America's military superhero this? Shachan's mind was filled with confusion. Sauron sneered. Look at my face, I'm a pure Oriental. Although I grew up in America, I am not a lackey of America's capital and politicians. You have to remember that as a member of the Super 7, you should not limit your sights to a certain country. What we want to do is to be a superhero for all mankind. America's war against Afghanistan and Iraq is unjust. They are plundering resources for their own satisfaction. We are righteous. We must reveal the truth. The Hulk was deceived. We let him know the truth. The most powerful family in the world. Soren's words caused a great shock to Shachan's heart. She couldn't help but think of her own country, a country. Originally, her life was very stable. Although she was not rich, she had a beautiful family. But everything was shattered with America's invasion. A look of determination appeared on Shachan's face. I will definitely complete the test. Sauron is very satisfied with this new little sister. Come, hold my waist, I will take you to complete the test. Sauron opened his hands and said calmly. Under the veil of sand, his face immediately turned red. Those traffickers wanted to take off her veil, and she completely broke out. According to her belief, only her husband can take off her veil. I can't even show my face, let alone give me a hug. However, Shachan gritted his teeth, walked over, and hugged Soren's waist. Sauron casually put his hand on Shachan's waist. Shachan's body was shaken and he was about to resist. Whoosh! Sauron took her and soared into the sky. Shachan subconsciously hugged Soren's waist tightly and completely forgot about Soren's hand on her waist. Hulk and Banner are like Jean and Dark Phoenix. Completely two personalities. Banner was exposed to high concentrations of gamma rays for 3 months before his main personality could integrate with Hulk. But the sequelae are also obvious. Dr. Banner, who was originally very reliable, has become less reliable when it comes to science. Banner doesn't know all the memories in the Hulk state. General Ross took advantage of this. After Hulk destroys a military base, he will place weapons of mass destruction in these bases. After detonating, let reporters take pictures of the wreckage. This confirms the justice of America's war against Iraq. After waking up, Banner saw the evidence and felt that he was on the side of justice. A small town occupied by the American military. Banner stayed in the room arranged by the military. There is an external network here, and he can make video calls with Betty. Come here. Suddenly, Banner remembered a voice in his mind. Who? Banner turned around, only to find that he was the only one in the room. He thought he was hallucinating. But soon, the voice came to mind again. Come here. Do you want to know the truth? You were deceived. Banner immediately understood that this was a person with telepathy ability who wanted to see him. Relying on his Hulk status, he is almost invincible. He just wanted to see who wanted to see him. Banner followed the guidance of the voice in his head and came to a bar. Most of the people here are bearded locals. The look he looked at was strange. Banner was not afraid. He followed the sound and walked to the corner, opposite a girl sitting with her back to the door. Are you looking for me? Banner came up and asked directly. Two mutants who were secretly monitoring Banner also walked in and randomly found a seat nearby to sit down. Shachan nodded and said, Bruce Banner, I'm here to reveal the truth to you. Banner frowned and said, What truth? Shachan's eyes were full of seriousness. Bruce Banner, there are no so-called weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. Chemical weapons. Shachan said. Banner sneered. How is that possible? I saw the remains of those weapons with my own eyes. Shachan asked instead. As the Hulk who breached the military base, have you seen those intact weapons? Banner was stunned for a moment and said, My memories with Hulk are not the same. But if I didn't destroy those weapons, where did those wreckage come from? The more intelligent people are, the more they stick to their own perceptions. Shachan said, You give up your inner resistance, and I can let you see Hulk's memories. You will know what the truth is. Banner looked at the little girl in front of him and chose to believe it. Okay, I won't resist. Banner closed his eyes. Shachan suspended his hand above Banner's head. Pour the power of the mind that Sauron lent him into Banner's brain. A passage connecting two personalities was temporarily opened. Banner saw Hulk's memory, and Hulk also saw Banner's memory. The anger of being deceived surged into Banner's heart. Roar! The angry Banner couldn't control his transformation at all. Green Hulk, roaring in anger. Smashing it with both hands, the table was shattered into pieces. The sand instantly turned into a sandstorm, breaking through the glass and getting away from here. Shet, the mutant soldier responsible for protecting and monitoring Banner, went numb in an instant. They stepped forward and tried to appease them, but were slapped away by Hulk. If Sauron doesn't take action, who can resist the explosive Hulk? In the blink of an eye, this bar was in ruins. Hulk rushed into the street, and the locals screamed in horror when they saw him. The military base is in the town. It occupies a lot of buildings and serves as military camps. They got the message as soon as Hulk broke out. Fake, what's going on? General Ross shouted angrily at his men. General, we don't know. I thought Dr. Banner was just out for a walk, so I sent 2 mutant soldiers to protect him. I just know that Dr. Banner met a woman with her face covered in a bar, and then he transformed. Men, quick returns. General Ross was keenly aware that something was wrong. Someone is targeting Hulk. Keep an eye on Hulk and let him vent as long as he doesn't come to the base. When he is done venting, he will naturally turn back to Banner. General Ross felt that this was not a big deal. He really didn't know the seriousness of this matter. General, Hulk is coming towards the base. Banner saw Hulk's memory, and Hulk also saw Banner's memory. Hulk's thinking is simpler. To lie to Banner is to lie to Hulk. Hulk is very angry. Shet. General Ross was shocked. He knows too well Hulk's power. Fire tear gas to drive away the Hulk. Following General Ross's order, tear gas grenades were fired in the direction of Hulk's advance. Hulk rushed in, amidst the acrid smoke. Tear gas cannot harm Hulk at all, but it also makes Hulk feel the pain of irritated eyes and nose. Roar! He let out an angry roar and stamped hard on the ground with both feet. The whole body takes off. At least dozens of meters high. Get out of the tear gas range. Boom! He landed 1 kilometer away, within easy reach of the military base. Shooting. Guards at the military base, fire directly. The 12.7 mm anti-aircraft machine gun shoots directly at the rushing Hulk. These bullets, which could tear apart the outer shell of a fighter jet, only left shallow dents on Hulk's body. It can't break the skin's defense at all. Individual missiles. Anti-tank rockets. Nothing can stop Hulk's figure. The steel gate was torn apart instantly by Hulk. Countless soldiers opened fire on Hulk from all directions. Hulk, however, let the bullets rain down on him. Ross. Hulk shouted to the sky, calling out General Ross's name. General Ross instantly understood that Hulk was coming for him. He couldn't figure it out. Banner was fine when he went out. Why did he come back and want to kill him? Meerkat helicopter squad deployed. Ross gave the order. He turned around and boarded the helicopter. Hulk saw Ross in the helicopter, jumped angrily, and chased after him. Ross led Hulk to the desert outside the town. Hulk's first battle with the military was in the desert. The difference is that in the original work, it is in the desert in America. But now, we are in the desert of Iraq. The location is not important. What is important is that the deviated plot returns to normal. High in the sky, Sauron held Shachan's waist and looked down at the battle on the ground. Be it Cobra missiles or Hellfire missiles. In Hulk's hands, it's like a big lollipop. He opened his mouth to bite off the ammunition part, and spit it at the helicopter, causing the helicopter to explode. America's main battle tank is nothing more than a toy in his hands. Hulk killed planes and tanks. But in the blink of an eye, General Ross mobilized new ones. But Hulk, tireless, as long as there is anger in his heart, he is full of power. This farce must end. It's time for him to return to China and face his father. Sauron said lightly. A psychic power poured directly into Hulk's heart. Betty's figure appeared, causing the anger in Hulk's heart to quickly dissipate. Transformation released. Sauron planted a small hint in the heart of General Ross. Let him take Banner back to China. Sauron took Sandust and teleported directly. Returned to Xavier's school. Bruce Banner's father, David Banner. An ambitious guy, he saw with his own eyes that his son transformed into Hulk in front of him. Excited inside, he had already imitated Bruce's process and exposed himself to gamma rays. But instead of turning into the Hulk, he turned into the absorbing man. Sauron, some thoughts on the ability to absorb people. Chapter 31. As soon as Sauron appeared, Dark Phoenix's spiritual power surrounded Sauron. The deep attachment reveals the vigilance of his opponent Shachan. Soon, Dark Phoenix ran in front of Sauron, staring at Shachan, as if asking Sauron for an explanation. Dark Phoenix, who was completely conquered, has become more and more like a normal person. Sauron reached out, put his hand on Dark Phoenix's head, and rubbed her red hair. Dark Phoenix narrowed his eyes like a kitten. She is Shachan, the team member I recruited. Dark Phoenix nodded obediently and withdrew his vigilance and hostility towards Shachan. He stretched out his pink little tongue and licked Soren's finger. Meaning, it's time to compensate her. Sauron smiled knowingly. Psychic power, call John. She is Shachan, the team member I recruited. You take her to familiarize yourself with the environment and ask Aurora to arrange a room for her. After Sauron finished speaking, he hugged Dark Phoenix and teleported to Chin's room. A greedy kitten needs to be fed well to be well behaved. John looked at Shachan curiously, only to see Shachan let out a sudden sigh of relief. What's wrong with you? John asked curiously. Is that woman the captain's girlfriend? It's so scary. I feel the threat of death. Shachan couldn't help but said. Hearing this, John explained. This matter is very complicated. She is our teacher Chin, but her body is now controlled by the second personality. Her second personality is so terrifying. Even Charles isn't sure he can control it. It was Boss Sauron who sacrificed his own body to prevent her from going out and causing trouble. When John explained, his eyes were filled with admiration. At first, all the boys in the college thought, is this a sacrifice? This is not a huge advantage. Chin is a top beauty. However, after a few days, they no longer felt that way. On the contrary, I admire Sauron as the most powerful among them. Even in this aspect, he is called invincible. Sure enough, you are sacrificing yourself. John was suddenly stunned and asked quickly. What did you just say? Captain. Boss Sauron has succeeded Mr. Scott and become the new captain of the X-Men. Shachan shook his head and said. The captain said that he is going to form his own superhero team called the Super Seven. I recruited me to join. Do not you know? Jon's soul suffered a heavy blow. Boss Sauron, I am obviously your first pawn, okay. It must be the boss who thinks my ability is not strong enough. I must exercise hard and transform into the fire element as soon as possible. Jon cheered himself up in his heart. As the boss's first subordinate, would it be a shame if he couldn't make it into the boss's superhero team? How to make progress. General Ross brought Banner back to America. Banner's father, David Banner, is the source of the special genes in Banner's body. But David has never found a way, and it took him a lifetime to integrate the special gene in his genes and play its role. The appearance of Hulk allowed him to see the light. He replicated Bruce's process and became an absorber. He is able to absorb the energy around him and integrate it with the matter in contact. He told Betty everything and got caught on purpose. Betty begged her father to let David and Bruce have a final conversation. Conversations are conducted in special instruments. If there is any abnormal movement between the two of them, the cable will be energized, and then the machine will release a terrifying arc. Kill both of them. But this is all David's conspiracy. He longs for his son's ability, wants to absorb Hulk's power, and complete his final evolution. He bit open the rubber covering of the cable, and General Ross energized the cable without any hesitation. But the terrifying high-voltage electric current in the cable was absorbed crazily by David. His body is getting bigger and bigger. After he absorbed all the electricity, his body seemed to be made of pure electricity, and his body was taller than Hulk. Exuding a dazzling light, whoosh, absorbs the energy of the human body and brings the transformed Banner into the sky. Lightning flashes, and in this flash, Hulk can be seen attacking continuously. Sauron took Dark Phoenix's arm away from his body. Super clairvoyance and super farsightedness enabled me to see this battle hundreds of kilometers away in the sky. Sauron put on his battlesuit and disappeared into the room instantly. Instead of absorbing the ability of people, what he values is the ability to integrate the materials in contact. Energy absorbing, the ability to absorb people, is it comparable to the full Phoenix Force? Sauron wanted to try what would happen if he used Integrate's ability to contact matter and the artificial sun. It hasn't been long since Dr. Octopus was born. Pear Lake. Hulk and absorbing man crashed on the shore. Hulk clutched his abdomen and climbed up. During this battle, his body was burned by the terrifying electric current. However, with the super self-healing ability, repair has already begun. The electric current absorbed by the absorber is almost exhausted. He began to integrate the rocks on contact and turned into a rock giant. Hulk jumped suddenly, but the absorber blocked it with a rock. They fight together again, in a military base more than 10 kilometers away. General, we have found it, in Lizzie Lake, etc. The satellite captured another person. Soon, the satellite photos were displayed in front of General Ross. This is. General Ross was stunned. Red cape, black battle suit, and a big S on the chest. Although the face was a little blurry, he recognized it at a glance. Soren Lee. General Ross, eyes wide. Superman. The person controlling the computer exclaimed. General Ross naturally knows Superman. Staring at Sauron in the satellite photo. Flight, heat vision, super defense, biological force field. Is he awakening? A super ability similar to Superman? Or, Krypton is not fictional, Sauron is a Kryptonian. General Ross thought a lot in one moment. If Sauron is really a Kryptonian, is there a Kryptonian spaceship hidden on the blue star? Notify the Gamma Bomb team, launch. Gamma bombs were made by General Ross specifically for Hulk. He believes that the Gamma Bomb that can kill Hulk can also kill Sauron. Whether Sauron is a mutant or a Kryptonian will be known once we get his body. General Ross's eyes were full of excitement and desire. A Gamma Bomb was launched from a military base. Hulk will integrate the absorber with the boulder and throw it towards the lake. Sauron suddenly appeared. He floated on the lake and caught the boulder weighing hundreds of tons with one hand. Soren's sudden appearance stunned Hulk and the absorbing man. Roar! Hulk thought that Sauron was an absorbing companion, so he jumped up and hit Sauron. Scarlet heat vision, knocking Hulk away. Hulk hit the ground, and his chest was covered in charred flesh and blood. Under the super self-healing, it began to heal. Soren's heat vision this time was mainly based on impact. The Hulk is related to a lot of plots later, how can he die? When the Absorber saw this scene, his eyes burst out with light. Ha ha ha, another one delivered to my door. What he is least afraid of is the super ability on the energy side. The Absorber broke free from the integration with the boulder, stretched out huge amounts of hands, and grabbed Soren's body. He wants to absorb Soren's energy. But the next second, his eyes were filled with shock. Impossible. Why do I clearly feel that your body contains huge amounts of energy, but I can't absorb it? No, this is absolutely impossible, Sauron sneered. Not even Rugrats can absorb his life force and ability. Are you worthy of absorbing people? Sun breathing technique. If you can't achieve perfect control of energy, is it still worthy of being called breathing method? Sauron, raise your hand and punch. Boom, huge amounts of rock, shattered into countless pieces, flying everywhere. As for absorbing people, they also lost a lot of rocks. The body became almost as big as a normal person. The body also returned to its original appearance. Sauron grabbed the Absorber's neck. He did not use his heat vision, because the energy of heat vision belonged to him. It can be absorbed by the absorbing person. The original plot was for Hulk to disappear and absorb people to die. It doesn't matter whether the military's gamma bomb did it or Sauron did it. The Absorber wanted to integrate Soren's flesh and blood, but was blocked by the biological force field. The energy in the body is exhausted and other substances cannot be integrated. Absorbing people restored the original, weak body. Click. Sauron broke the Absorber's neck with a slight twist. A bright ball of light fell from the Absorber's body. The scarlet heat vision will absorb the human corpse and completely evaporate it. Why keep it? Let the military study it. He is not the biological father of the military. Hulk stood up and roared at Sauron. Sauron rushed over and punched Hulk into the rocks of the mountain. Hulk sank deeply into the rock and punched a hole. Roar. Hulk roared and rushed out of the hole, endless anger burning in his heart. His size has grown larger and his strength has also increased dramatically. But Sauron still punched him. Hulk flew back again, making the big hole he made even deeper. Hulk rushes out, got punched back. After several times, several of the hard bones in Hulk's body were broken. His nose was bruised and his face was swollen, his mouth and nose were bleeding, and several of his front teeth were missing. When Sauron knocked Hulk back into the deep hole again, he froze. Hulk actually dug out rocks in a deep cave and escaped. A huge amount of light flew out from the deep hole. Sauron was a little worried. Am I going to use too much force and knock Hulk into autism? Sauron allowed Hulk to escape. He looked at the gamma bomb that had flown into his field of vision. The figure disappeared instantly. The gamma bomb exploded, contaminating America's land, not his private land. He doesn't mind his own business. Boom. The gamma bomb exploded, and the terrifying gamma rays, with extremely high concentration, instantly destroyed all life within several kilometers of the surrounding area. It is here that there is a mountain range, otherwise the scope of damage would be even greater. Hulk's bleeding, teeth falling out. Disappear under this gamma ray. General, Superman and Hulk disappeared before the gamma bomb exploded. General Ross punched the table in an angry tone. Beside him, Betty secretly breathed a sigh of relief. My lover, it's okay. But she also understood that it would be difficult to see him again in the future. Sauron did not return to Xavier's school, but randomly found an uninhabited mountain to fall down. It's time to take stock of the harvest. In the system space, 4 light groups emit bright light. 1 for absorbing man, 1 for Hulk, 1 for Death Girl, and 1 for Cyclops. Death Girl drops super self-healing. Scott drops Cyclops. Sauron originally had super self-healing ability and heat vision. Throw it directly to the system for recycling. Earn 10,000 system gold coins. Including the 5,000 gold coins recovered by the system from Mystique, Sauron already has 15,400 gold coins. Then, Sauron looked at the remaining 2. This is the big deal. Hulk's light ball unleashed the power of infinite rage. Only 1 or 2 abilities and abilities can be dropped when defeated. The light group that absorbed people not only dropped his super ability, but also his scientific research ability. The power of infinite anger. The angrier you are, the more powerful you are. And there is no upper limit. Absorber. Absorbs surrounding energy and integrates with objects in contact. Sauron thought for a second and decided to integrate these two abilities. Now that he is about to enter the Man of Steel level, he is not really invincible. The power of infinite rage allows him to enter an overclocked state and temporarily gain the power of a higher level Superman. As for absorption, he wanted to try it. If he came into contact with the artificial sun created by Dr. Otto and tried to integrate, what miracles would happen? If it doesn't work, throw it back to the system for recycling. System, integrate. Sauron suddenly felt that he was becoming angry with everything around him. But with this anger, he felt that his power was strengthened. Power, reflexes, speed, senses, physical strength. The solar energy stored in the body is consumed extremely quickly. But the strength of the body is increasing. Sauron frowned. He felt that hundreds of billions of cells in his body were sending out signals of hunger. Whoosh! Soren's figure disappeared instantly. He's in outer space. When he was at the Azu level, he couldn't be in space yet. But now, it can. He has officially broken through to the Man of Steel level. The teleportation blessed by the power of the soul allowed Sauron to arrive near Mercury after several flashes. Here, every inch of space contains terrifying solar energy. Sauron can perceive the endless and vast solar energy in the surrounding space. Moreover, Sauron can gather all the energy within a radius of 10 kilometers centered on his body. This is the ability to absorb people. The terrifying solar energy converged on Soren's body from all directions. Because these suns have huge energy, the temperature around Soren's body soared to thousands of degrees. The light is extremely bright. Sun breathing technique, working at full power. The solar energy consumed in Soren's body was replenished in just a few breaths. But Sauron has officially entered the Man of Steel level. His strength is twice as strong as before. The amount of solar energy that can be contained in the body is 2 times. Soren's eyes burst out with bright light. He was extremely lucky that he did not recycle the power of wireless anger. But integrate. The power of infinite rage is really a waste when used for overclocking in battle. Overkill. Buy a casket and give it back a pearl. The power of infinite rage is just a temporary enhancement of power for Hulk. Unless you reach the limit of anger and enter the green state of death, your strength will fall back to normal after the anger subsides. But for Sauron, he only needs the solar energy in his body to keep up with the supply. The power of infinite anger will make his body strengthen quickly. Each of his enhancements is eternally fixed, not temporary. This is so awesome. Sauron couldn't help but laughed. However, Sauron also felt that facing the vast sun, his physical strength was still not enough. Near Mercury, it is already the limit. To reach the point where you can walk on the surface of the sun, you still need to work hard. Moreover, he can't stay here forever. His super hearing is not strong enough and he cannot hear the sounds on Blue Star at all. Maintain the stability of the timeline so that those superpowers who were originally born can be born stably. Then, harvest abilities and abilities from them. The power of Hulk's infinite anger made Sauron more determined to this idea. Find Dr. Otto and ask him to make the artificial sun. We must get it out. There was not much anger in Soren's heart when his strength reached the level when Heng Chao fought against Zod. This rapid increase in strength stopped. Returning to Blue Star, super hearing enveloped half the planet. Soon, Sauron locked onto Norman Osborn in New York. In order for Dr. Otto to create an artificial sun, he must have strong financial support. Otto's artificial sun is actually a fusion reaction of tritium. And tritium exists very little in nature. However, tritium can be obtained by bombarding lithium with neutrons. Extracting tritium from nature is not advisable. The cost of producing tritium in nuclear reactions is also extremely high. What's more, only a handful of countries' top nuclear physics laboratories can produce it. Tritium is one of the main raw materials for making hydrogen eggs. This results in its price being extremely high. It is also a raw material that is strictly controlled by world powers. Charles, although possessing extremely rich wealth, but he didn't have the connections. And Osborne Company, which has a good cooperative relationship with America. He has the ability and financial resources to provide Otto with research support for artificial suns. Furthermore, Otto's 4 mechanical tentacles have artificial intelligence and are not affected by high temperatures and magnetic fields. Only Osborne Corporation and Stark Industries can produce it. When Sauron locked onto Norman Osborn, a hint of surprise flashed in his eyes. He did not expect that at the moment Norman was sending his son Harry to participate in the Science and Technology exhibition of Columbia University. Among these students, there are two other characters. Toby Spider, who hasn't become Spider-Man yet. And Toby Spider's real name is Mary Jane. Super Brain gives Sauron an extremely clear memory. It was at this science and technology exhibition that Peter was bitten by one of the 15 super spiders that had been genetically engineered to integrate the excellent genes of 3 powerful spiders. Thus, Toby Spider was born. This is not a supernatural spider. These spiders, not Peter's father, added his own genes as genetically certified super spiders. Therefore, it is possible for the other 14 super spiders to create other Spider-Men. When Peter was bitten, his genes did not collapse, but instead he became a Superman. This is a destiny, but Peter Parker is not the only one with this kind of destiny. Gwen Stacy, take one of the remaining 14 and let it bite Gwen. Will Gwen become Spider-Woman? If the spider that bit Peter was intercepted, the Toby Spider would not be born. Could it be that destiny took the initiative to make Gwen become Spider-Woman? Sauron smiled and suppressed this idea. He won't stop Peter from becoming Spider-Man. But he will take those 14 super spiders away. Sauron told Shachan that forming the Super Seven was not just talk. His positioning for Shachan is to attack and control the field in groups. The sandstorm that enveloped the entire New York City, unless mushroom eggs were used directly, no other weapons could cause damage to the sandstorm. As for the sand and dust in this state, the entire New York is within its perception. It's perfect for controlling the field and clearing out miscellaneous soldiers. Spider-Man is Soren's candidate for the Super Seven. Toby Spider or Gwen Spider? Sauron naturally chose Gwen Spider. Who doesn't like a young lady with an incredibly flexible body? Sauron changed into ordinary clothes and blended into the crowd of visitors. Witnessing the birth of Toby Spider with your own eyes is a kind of check-in. However, the tall, handsome Sauron appeared. It attracted the attention of girls. After Mary Jane's eyes fell on Soren, she could no longer look away. Sauron exudes powerful masculinity. This is a fatal attraction for women. Soon, many young ladies gathered around Sauron. There were also a lot of small notes with contact information stuffed in his pocket. Sauron paid no attention to these ordinary goods. MJ took the initiative to move closer to Soren, with a charming smile on her face. Hello, which school are you from? Such a handsome guy. If it was her school, she would have pursued him long ago. But she was also a little uneasy. There were too many girls chatting with Sauron just now. But Sauron didn't pay attention. Although she was confident in herself, she was not completely sure that she could attract Soren's attention. Sauron likes tall beauties like Chin. But what I like most is this kind of girl who is a bit fleshy. For example, here is Mary Jane. The extraordinary spider's true love, Gwen. Miss Wanda, don't get too comfortable. Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters, you probably haven't heard of it. Not many ordinary people know about Mutant School. Iceman Bobby's parents thought it was the kind of genius school where high IQ teenagers go. Mary's eyes widened in surprise and she admired. Then your IQ must be very high. Wow, I don't know any top students yet. Soren smiled brightly, and Mary almost lost her mind. I don't know a girl as beautiful as you either. A man's mouth. Soren's words made MJ's face turn red. Really? Mary couldn't help but ask. Definitely. Soren's eyes were filled with seriousness. Mary smiled so beautifully. The eyes of the boys around him were deeply attracted. Peter looked at Mary with crazy eyes. Harry patted Peter on the shoulder and said, Peter, don't think about it. They all say that Mary is a lesbian and never talks to men. How many boys in school have confessed their love to her? Not all failed. Sauron heard Harry's words. There was a flash of surprise in his eyes. Didn't Mary Jane have a boyfriend? Involuntarily, Sauron turned on the X-ray. She is still a young girl. The smile on Soren's face became even brighter. Let's visit together, Sauron invited. MJ naturally agreed. She felt that she had met true love at first sight. It's still the kind that goes both ways. The two of them mingled among the crowd, listening to the guide arranged by the Science and Technology exhibition, who began to explain the different types of spiders. Peter's photo shoot still aroused bullying from several school bullies. Even Harry, a rich second generation, was ridiculed. Soon, the 15 super spiders arrived, integrating the special genes of the previous 3 spiders. MJ suddenly said, "Sorry, there are only 13 spiders here." Sauron was stunned for a moment, and with his super hearing, he instantly locked onto the 2 escaping spiders. A spider has spun a web on the ceiling. If nothing else, it would be the one that bit Peter. The other one, at some point, climbed onto MJ's feet. So, is there a slight deviation in the plot, or is there a change in Spider-Man's destiny? It would be too easy for Sauron to deal with the extra spider that escaped. But what if we don't intervene? The commentator took a look and found that there were only 13 of them. Maybe other researchers took it for research. She didn't pay much attention. Soren asked MJ, "I'm going to buy a cup of coffee. What do you want to drink?" MJ was a little surprised. How could the boys on America's side buy coffee and milk tea for girls? Normal sugar, milk and ice. Sauron leaves, but supervision is paying attention. Peter boldly took photos in the name of the school newspaper. Rejected by MJ. In her heart now, she was filled with the man she fell in love with at first sight. Peter had no choice but to take pictures of the spider. The fateful spider, unexpectedly, bit Peter's right hand. After more than 10 seconds, the spider on MJ's feet also crawled onto her neck. He bit her on the back of her neck. Ah! MJ let out a cry of pain, and she quickly reached out to touch, but found nothing. I touched the bitten area and felt a bump like a pimple. She thought she had been bitten by some small insect, so she didn't care. Sauron, come back with 2 cups of coffee. Here you go, add sugar, ice and milk. Thanks. MJ thanked him seriously. Then she said, "A little bug just bit me from the neck down. Please help me take a look." As she spoke, she turned her back to Sauron, lifted her hair with one hand, and exposed her white and tender neck. This action is full of charm. Soren's eyes focused on the bite wound. Under the microscope, the spider venom was mixed with the special genetic fragments of the super spider, and was spreading all over MJ's body along the broken capillaries. There are already cells, cell nuclei and genetic fragments of the super spider, and they are beginning to integrate. Su Lun reached out and touched MJ's neck. The first time a boy touched this place, her skin instantly became tight. Sauron touched a thin cobweb and took out the dead super spider. "Break it down completely. I'll accompany you to the hospital for a good checkup," Sauron said. MJ suddenly began to feel moved. "No, it's just a bug bite. Silly girl, this is no ordinary bug, but a super spider." The visit ended quickly, and MJ decided to take the initiative. "Soren, let's watch a movie together tomorrow night. There's a new movie, Pirates of the Caribbean, released recently that I think you might like." Sauron nodded and agreed. "Okay, this night is destined to be restless." Sauron is suspended in the clouds above Queens. Under supervision, Peter and MJ have nowhere to hide. They have been neighbors since they were 6 years old. But the 2 of them had barely spoken to each other, and MJ had never paid attention to his neighbor, who had been his classmate for a long time. But tonight, after the 2 of them returned home, all had the same symptoms. Weak, sweating profusely, pale, cold. They all, as soon as they returned to the room, lay on the bed and wrapped themselves tightly in quilts. Peter, the Destiny Spider-Man. However, the integration of MJ's genes and the super spider's genetic fragments was extremely smooth. Sauron smiled. In each universe, there is only one Spider-Man whose rule is broken. So, will the multi-universe Spider-Man Alliance send someone? Sauron waited until daytime and saw no Spider-Man from other universes coming. It seems that either the multi-universe Spider-Man has not yet formed an alliance, or they don't have the equipment to travel across the multi-universe. MJ has completely integrated the super spider's genes. Became a Superman class. Sauron returns to Xavier's school and is gone for a night. Dark Phoenix will blow up the academy if he doesn't comfort him. MJ rubbed his head and sat up. She felt her head hurt, as if she was hungover. She got up and washed up in a daze, but when she looked at herself in the mirror, she was stunned. The skin on her face still had some small blemishes. Most white girls have freckles on their faces when they are young. Gradually decreases with age, but some will remain. MJ's face looked clean in the mirror, with no trace of freckles at all. Even the traces of acne have completely disappeared. The skin is white, tender and smooth, just like a baby. MJ couldn't help but take off his clothes and check his whole body. The same goes for the skin all over your body. She even had amazing waistline and abdominal muscles on her abdomen. The mountain peaks are also steeper and taller. MJ was completely confused. She actually had such a big change in her body. But she didn't do anything. The food we eat is just normal food. MJ turned on the faucet, just like washing his face and sobering up. However, when she turned it with the same strength as before, she immediately turned off the faucet switch. The cold water instantly sprayed on MJ's face and body. MJ was even more confused. She hurriedly went to play in the water again, and the shower curtain was pulled down by her. The toilet was kicked to pieces in a panic by her. In an instant, the bathroom was completely messed up. Only then did MJ realize that his strength had become great. She carefully and spent a long time cleaning up the mess. I also skipped taking a shower and was washed several times by the water sprayed from the faucet. Suppressing the worry, anxiety and excitement in his heart, MJ changed into clean clothes and went to school. In the cafeteria at noon, MJ was holding a dinner plate and stepped on the detergent that the janitor accidentally spilled. Jingle bell, Peter Spider telepathy instantly inspires. He quickly reached out to catch MJ who fell. However, MJ did a beautiful backflip. During the turning process, a plate is also used to catch the food. Peter looked at his empty hands and froze. In the cafeteria, too many people saw this scene. Pretty, MJ, you are so cool. God, how did you do it, MJ? MJ was also shocked by his own reaction. She thought about her own strength and realized that not only her strength had become stronger, but her reactions, agility, etc. had also become different. She sat with her female classmates, and then she became the center. MJ, what products did you use? Your skin is so good. MJ, do you often go to the gym? You actually have abs. God is so partial. Not only do you have abdominal muscles, but the murder weapon is so brutal. The key is that the flesh on your body is so soft and elastic. Girls' focus is always so single-minded. Mary Jane was originally the school beauty and the center of attention for the girls. She fooled him easily, but I am even more looking forward to tonight's date. As the appointed time approached, Sauron changed into handsome clothes. Charles has shares in Hermes, so the ordinary clothing in the college is provided by Hermes. Soren's current salary has been improved, and his clothes are all custom-made by Hermes. For Sauron, the material of the battle suit is what he pursues. Ordinary clothes, street stall goods and custom-made by masters are all the same. However, his famous brand is a flashing golden reminder in the eyes of many gangsters. Tell others, I have money, come and rob me. Sauron had appeared and was seen by a few gangsters passing by the alley. They met each other and turned into the alley. The switchblade in his hand shone with a sharp cold light. Hey, boy, hand over all the money you have. Sauron really laughed. The robbery got the best of him. However, he didn't take action because he discovered MJ. MJ takes tonight's date very seriously. The upper body was wearing a white tight t-shirt, exposing her navel. The lower body is a black leather skirt, and the feet are a pair of black leather boots that reach the knees. Show off your hot body to the fullest. Her spider telepathy allowed her to discover that her date was blocked in a dark alleyway by some gangsters. There are too many such lanes between two tall buildings in New York. It's better during the day, but at night, it's a paradise for criminals. MJ's first thought was to call the police, but it took at least several minutes for the police to arrive. She thought about her extraordinary agility and strength. He gritted his teeth and rushed over. Let go of my friend. A few gangsters saw a slim, hot and beautiful girl coming out. Suddenly his eyes lit up. Shout, beauty saves the hero. But the next second, the gangsters were speechless. MJ used to be an ordinary girl. She closed her eyes, rushed over, relied on her spider telepathy, and punched randomly. She had no control over her powers at all. How could these gangsters, but ordinary people, withstand her fists? Soren reached out and grabbed MJ's fist. MJ, are you going to kill me too? MJ opened his eyes, still a little flustered and confused. Seeing Sauron holding her hand, she subconsciously looked in all directions. On the ground, several fainted gangsters were lying. Did I hit you? MJ asked. Sauron nodded, then smiled. I didn't expect you to be quite powerful. You knocked down several gangsters in just 3 strikes. MJ didn't even realize that something was wrong. Her fist, which knocked the gangsters unconscious with 1 punch, was easily caught in Soren's hand. But in panic, she didn't even think about it. In his previous life, Sauron didn't know how many times he had watched the Pirates of the Caribbean series. MJ is a girl and has no interest in such subjects. The two of them were not in the mood to watch a movie, but their hands were clasped together 10 minutes after the movie started. Half an hour later, MJ's shoulder was resting on Solen's shoulder. An hour into the movie, MJ took the initiative to kiss her. Sauron hits the bases with both hands. Girls like MJ who are a little voluptuous or soft. Don't get too comfortable. There are no infrared cameras in movie theaters in this era. Couples chewing together are so common. The movie ends and we come out. MJ hugged Soren's arm tightly, his face flushed, and his eyes looking at Soren were full of sweetness. Sauron enjoyed it too. He and Dark Phoenix only have a pure relationship. The conquerors and the conquered. From infancy to youth. Soren's heart is mature, but he also has the enthusiasm that this grade should have. Relive again the beauty of love. Soren completely let go and was with MJ, just like an ordinary young couple. Holding hands, crossing the road. When love arises, hug each other. After walking and stopping along the way, it was almost 11 o'clock when we arrived at MJ's house. Peter has always been worried about MJ, and he was very worried when he saw that the light in her room was not on. When he heard MJ's voice, he quickly ran to the window to look. I saw the handsome Oriental guy who visited with MJ yesterday. At this moment, he was kissing his goddess passionately at the door of her house. Peter's heart was suddenly hit hard. No, MJ, don't you never accept confessions from boys. Why are you with him? I'd rather you were a lesbian. No, 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 everything about Peter is in Soren's perception. Is MJ Toby Spider's destined daughter? Ah, what he is interested in is his woman. God takes care of it. Sauron killed him. MJ really fell in love with Sauron. Her eyes were full of reluctance. Sauron still has something to do, and he has to get those 13 spiders. Norman Osborn had to find it too. Avengers Alliance has Iron Man, who provides technology and funds. His Super 7 team also needs someone to provide technology and capital. Is Green Goblin a superhero or a supervillain? Very simple. Just erase the evil personality born after Norman became Superman. Be good, tomorrow is the weekend, I'll pick you up. Sauron smiled. MJ nodded happily. Seeing MJ enter the house, Soren left. The 13 spiders from Columbia University were easily obtained. With 13 spiders in hand, Sauron went to find old Osborn. On the large flat floor of Osborn's house, only Norman was there. He was drunk. Today, military representatives and the board of directors went to the company's laboratory collectively. Exploration Aerospace's exoskeleton armor project has replaced Osborn's human body strengthening project. This made Norman extremely painful and desperate. Military projects are Osborn's most important economic income. Once Osborn loses its military projects, the stock will usher in an avalanche. Why, a little setback caused the mighty Norman Osborn to become like this. Soren's voice sounded. Who? Norman woke up suddenly, grabbed the bottle and made a defensive gesture. Then, his eyes widened. Because, he saw an Oriental young man suspended outside the balcony. His flat is on the 50th floor, 100 meters above the ground. And this person was suspended 100 meters in the air. Sauron flew into Norman's great house, his feet on precious Persian rugs. Look at it casually. Looking at the shocked and vigilant Norman, Soren showed a gentle smile on his face. I have no enmity against you. With a thought from Sauron, a bronze statue belonging to the Osborn family was instantly broken down into atoms. Norman is a scientist, and the shock in his eyes suddenly increased. Material decomposition. How did you do that? Sauron did not answer, but said. I just want to tell you that if I am hostile to you and kill you, your body will be decomposed into carbon, hydrogen, oxygen and other atoms. You will disappear from this world completely. Norman was the chairman of Osborne Company. He forced himself to calm down. What do you want from me? Sauron shook his head and said, I'm here to invite you to join my superhero team. Super 7. I want you to be responsible for the team's equipment and technical support. As a token of my sincerity, I will help you solve the problem of body-strengthening agents. Norman's heart suddenly became tense. The reason why his human body-strengthening project was lost to space exploration. One is that his human strengthening agent has not passed human trials for a long time. The second is that the person in charge of the military has changed. The new person in charge is obviously on the side of exploring in aerospace. If the human strengthening agent can pass human experiments, then he is still confident that he can win back the military's order. Real. Sauron placed the 13 spiders in his hand in front of Norman. Norman also looked at the spider. He doesn't understand. What's the point of showing him a spider? This is a super spider created by the Genetic Integration Project of Columbia University's Biological Laboratory. These spiders have undergone a magical mutation. They can integrate the special gene fragments born in their own bodies with human genes through toxins. Listening to Soren's words, Norman locked his eyes on these 13 spiders. You can only join my team if you become Superman. You can use your own body strengthening agent. Although an evil personality will be born, I can help you erase it. You can also use these spiders, but whether the integration is successful or the gene collapses depends on your life. You can also take it for research and integrate it with your body-strengthening agent. Norman, there is no future in cooperating with the military. When you become a Superman, a superhero, you will know what a truly promising career is. After Soren finished speaking, he waited for Norman's reaction. Tony is still a swinger now. Although he has abilities that surpass Norman, Sauron prefers to cooperate with Norman. Norman has no bottom line. There are some things that Norman can do beautifully as soon as Sauron says it. Norman believes that Sauron, a person with powerful super abilities, will not just find a few spiders to deceive him. But he is a scientist, a very good biologist. He knows that the probability of becoming a Superman through this kind of super spider is too low. Science is rigorous. I will give these spiders to Professor Connors for study. He is the best at Osborne Company and the world's top expert in cross-species gene integration. I choose to use body strengthening agent. Please help me erase the evil personality I was born. More than 80 human experiments on human strengthening agents have been conducted. Only once did the experimenter engage in serious violent behavior. However, although the remaining experimenters did not engage in violent behavior, there were many strange behaviors in subsequent observations. After research, it is believed that a second personality was born. If there was only 1/88th chance of something like a human body strengthening agent, it would have passed the military's acceptance long ago. For the military, soldiers are the least valuable. Even if it's a 1/10th chance, it's all worth it. This was the company's top secret, but Sauron said it straight away. Osborne believed that he was not lying to himself. Good. Sauron agreed happily. Soren took Norman to the laboratory of Osborne Company in an instant. Norman took out the green body strengthening agent and put it into the equipment cabin. He drank the catalyst and lay down in it. The computer automatic program starts. Even without Soren's appearance, he decided to use the body strengthening agent himself. The green strengthening agent begins to evaporate. The equipment cabin was filled with thick green chemical mist. Norman took a big breath and inhaled these strengthening agents into his body. Then he fell into an epileptic state. But computer testing showed that his body muscles were being strengthened. Sauron knew that nothing would happen to him and didn't care. Soon, Norman's body stopped shaking. His body returned to calm, but there was an evil look in his eyes. An evil personality is born. Computer program that automatically clears the green strengthening agent mist. Opening the strengthening glass hatch, Green Goblin walked out of the equipment cabin, but suddenly launched an attack on Sauron. Although the Green Goblin was very fast, in Soren's eyes, it was extremely slow. Sauron just thought, and his huge mind psychokinesis bound the Green Goblin. The Green Goblin, who could not move at all, fell into panic for a moment. What power is this? Why can't I move? Let me go. Otherwise I will kill you. Sauron shook his head, and huge spiritual power poured into Norman's brain. The Green Goblin screamed in terror. No, no, you can't erase me. You can't do this. Please, let me go. I am willing to recognize you as my master. Norman fainted instantly, and the newly born evil personality Green Goblin was erased by Sauron. Soon, Norman woke up. He felt the powerful power in his body, and his eyes were full of excitement. Am I successful? Sauron nodded and said, I have erased your evil personality, so you don't have to worry about it in the future. Norman felt his power with his face full of information, and he suddenly made a decision. He entered his highest authority and deleted all information about human body strengthening agents. Then, he took out a portion of the popularity strengthening agent and destroyed all the rest. It's better not to hand over such a powerful force to the military. Norman sees a greater future. Sauron nodded approvingly. Sauron talked with Green Goblin for a long time. The Super 7 team, Project Solon, is divided into 2 teams, official and reserve teams. Pyro John, Dust, can only be members of the Reserve 7. The strength of Green Goblin is also the strength of the reserve team. But Green Goblin controls Osborne Company and can provide all equipment, technology, and financial support. Sauron gave him a position as a regular member of the team. Moreover, Green Goblin's evil personality has been erased, and he will not die easily. Relying on the technological strength of Osborne Company and constantly upgrading equipment, Green Goblin's strength can still be improved. In the future, Miss Wanda will definitely become an official member of the Super 7. If Jean can integrate the personality of Dark Phoenix, the complete Phoenix Force will definitely become a member of the Super 7. Sauron helped Norman plan the future. The scumbags on the board of directors can only hinder the development of Osborne Enterprises. Make them clear and recover the equity. Through those 13 spiders, biomedical drugs were developed. Fund Dr. Otto to research artificial suns and get involved in the energy industry. In the center of Manhattan, next to the Stark Building, construction began on the headquarters building of the Super 7. It was already daytime after this chat. Sauron was in high spirits and not sleepy at all. In fact, he can escape from sleep completely. Super Brain gives powerful mental recovery. But sleeping is such a wonderful thing, how can we abandon it? Get me a car, I'm going on a date with a girl. Sauron spoke directly. From now on, what is Norman's is Soren's. Soren's. There is a Lamborghini in the underground garage. Here is the key. Norman is full of gratitude to Sauron. It's just a sports car and there's no way I can express my gratitude. Sauron took the key and left directly. In fact, whether it is flight or teleportation, it is infinitely more convenient than driving. But enjoy being in love and enjoying the top driving skills of driving a Lamborghini with one hand. Of course there have to be sacrifices. Superman is just a profession. He is only 18 years old. Enjoy all the good things. Have a passionate love affair with a beautiful woman. Amidst the roaring sound of the Lamborghini's engine, Soren became the most handsome boy on the street. MJ got up early, dressed up carefully, and tidied himself up. Wearing a tight tank top and tight denim, she shows off her figure very well. Show all your advantages. The Lamborghini's exploding engine was immediately heard by 2 spiders who were neighbors. MJ curiously poked his head out and saw his handsome boyfriend in the driver's seat. Sauron, she shouted in surprise, then went downstairs and went out. He threw himself into Soren's arms. Just a passionate kiss. Through the window of his home, Peter's eyes darkened completely. He actually drives a supercar. How can I get my goddess back? Peter was very desperate, but at the same time, it also gave him a competitive spirit. He saw a second-hand sports car in the newspaper. Just over 30,000 United States dollars. At the same time, he also saw the advertisement for the free fighting arena. The reward of 3,000 United States dollars instantly made Peter's heart flutter. Sauron never thought that he would become the trigger for Peter to truly become Spider-Man. MJ's father saw this scene from the window of his house and became excited. My daughter is so awesome, she actually found a rich second-generation girl as her girlfriend. I'm going to post it. Sauron kissed MJ, but MJ's father's voice could be heard clearly. How could my own woman have a lazy father? A powerful spiritual suggestion was planted in the heart of MJ's father. His eyes changed instantly. No, I want to find a job and work hard to make money. My daughter is older, I can't embarrass her. He went into the bathroom to clean himself up, and then took out his cleanest clothes. He looked very capable. When he went out, MJ had just finished kissing Sauron. One has a Superman physique, and the other has a Spider-Man physique with breath-holding ability, which is very scary. MJ, who had a rosy face, almost didn't recognize his father when he saw the clean things. "Dad, what are you doing?" MJ asked doubtfully. With a kind face, he said, "Jane, you have such a good boyfriend. Dad is very happy. Dad decided to work hard. You go on a date with your boyfriend, Dad is going to find a job." MJ was dumbfounded. Is this still the father who loves to eat, is lazy, and drinks alcohol every day? Soren carried MJ into the car and said, "I can help your father arrange to join Osborne Company." MJ was instantly moved. "Sauron, you are really good to me. I don't even know how to repay you." How to repay? Let Soren experience how to drive a Lamborghini with one hand. Beautiful girl with luxury car, showing off wantonly. This is how to enjoy life. Two people bitten by the super spider at the same moment had completely different fates. MJ can sit in a Lamborghini and let her boyfriend experience the joy of driving with one hand. Peter, on the other hand, got himself a spider suit that covered his mouth and nose and exposed his eyes. I took my uncle's car and went to participate in the free fighting in the underground arena. Sure enough, the joy of driving a Lamborghini with one hand is not the Lamborghini, but one hand. It is supported by the wealth of two wealthy people, Charles and Osborne. Sauron is really enjoying life. Top restaurants, top chefs. Who says you can't enjoy life as Superman? In the mall, buy. Not just for MJ. Twinkle and Little Naughty all bought them gifts. Whether Dark Phoenix wants it or not, the more she absorbs Jean's memories, the more she integrates Jean's personality. She changed towards normal, and Sauron also bought her gifts. As night fell, Soren did not send MJ home. Instead, go straight to the Hilton Hotel. MJ didn't refuse, she was looking forward to it. I have already let my boyfriend experience driving with one hand. The last step has already been accepted in my heart. How could my own woman be wronged and go directly to the presidential suite? Bathtub milk bath, infinity swimming pool, super king bed. A girl with a bit of flesh is more comfortable than a skinny beauty like Dark Phoenix. Inside an underground fight club, Peter relied on his strengthened physical strength, and reflexes to knock down the super strong man who had won more than 10 consecutive games. The size difference between the two of them is too big, and Peter looks like a weakling. But such a contrast made Peter instantly angry. The whole audience cheered. Spider-Man, Spider-Man. But Peter was not happy or excited. He only felt very uncomfortable inside. It seems that I have completely lost the most precious thing. MJ dedicated his 18 years of virginity to Sauron. From then on, there was only Sauron in my heart. Peter lost his destiny. But soon, he will lose his more precious one. When receiving his reward, the promised 3,000 became 100. Peter is still too kind and has not broken away from his identity as an ordinary person. With his power, don't take it easy to get back your 3,000. He endured it, but someone robbed the boss and stole tens of thousands of USD. He could have stopped it, but he didn't. His uncle's car was robbed by the robber's accomplices. Because he was pushed by his accomplice, the future Sandman took away the fire. Uncle Ben, holding on to Peter, said those crucial words. The greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. It's like a fixed point in time where it's going to happen no matter what. Peter heard the sound of the police chasing the murderer who shot Uncle Ben. He uses his ability to catch up with the murderer. But I saw the face I saw not long ago. The guy who stole the Fight Club boss. Peter instantly understood that he was obviously blocked by ability, but he didn't stop him because of his own desire for revenge. But it caused his own uncle to die because of it. At this moment, Peter's inner metamorphosis occurs. He completely understood what Uncle Ben said. Spider-Man was born. Soren accompanied MJ and attended Ben's funeral. Peter saw MJ, whose face was flushed and his whole body seemed to be cooked. Especially those eyes filled with Soren's eyes. He completely extinguished his thoughts. Sauron saw the Spider-Man battle suit under Peter's clothes. He couldn't help but look at his woman. Underneath a pair of ordinary clothes are the latest styles from Victoria's Secret. Yes, a woman in love doesn't care about the super ability she gets. I have never thought about using it to fight crime. Instead, it was used on how to please her boyfriend. She never thought that even professional gymnasts couldn't do those extremely difficult moves. I did it, but my boyfriend has no doubts about it. Is this normal? Also, I am a Superman type, but my physical strength is not as good as my boyfriend. Don't you have any doubt that your boyfriend is not an ordinary person? In this world, nuclear fusion reactors have already been developed. Stark Industries' arc reactor is a cold fusion reactor. Provide huge power supply for Stark Industrial Park. Osborne Company has been funding Dr. Otto. Norman must satisfy Soren's request. He increased his demands on Dr. Otto and spent a lot of money to build him mechanical tentacles. At the same time, Norman also increased his investment in Professor Connor's research. He devoted all the resources of human strengthening agents to Professor Connor's cross-species gene integration project. Through the study of 13 spiders, that special mutation was discovered. Then, cross-species gene transfer and integration are used. In fact, this is the world of extraordinary spiders, that extremely critical algorithm. Connors lost an arm. He studied cross-species gene transfer and integrate, hoping to regenerate his lost arm. Originally, when he arrived at Spider-Man 3, he failed. But as he studied the 13 spiders, he gradually gained insights. Tobey Spider's destined first opponent, the Green Goblin, did not appear. The extraordinary spider's first opponent, Professor Lizard, became Tobey Spider's first opponent. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.